Right. Well, with the whole lot of all the crockery,
Yes.
reminds me of my childhood. I absolutely just washed up all the time, seemed to be washing up all the time. When we had people, relatives come, wherever I sat at the table, the dirty dishes would pile up in front of me. So it was me that had to get up and take them out. And on 2 or 3 occasions I thought, I'll shift my place. But wherever I sat round the table, the dishes came to me anyway. So that's all I can remember.
But that's at home you're talking about, isn't it? But some of these are, I think, were to do with not just washing up at home, but washing up for other people. Is that right?
Yes, I had a grandma. Mother used to say, go and see what grandma wants and what grandma wants. And she just lived up the road with my aunt. And I'd go there and grandma would say, oh, would you do this? Would you dust that? Would you just wash this? Would you do this? And when that's in my later years, I thought, my God, she's only 60. She was only 60. Why the hell didn't she do her own washing up?
And what about...
That's what you think now.
Yes, and what about, actually, because of your mum being very strapped for cash, she asked you to go out and actually do this sort of work for money, didn't she, from quite an early age?
Yes, where my mother had one little job, which was from, I think, about 9 till 12. Because before that, you see, father had died, and she had a school cleaner's job, because it was right over the heath, bearing in mind that she would walk across the heath and start as early as sort of 7:30 or 6:30. There was no big electricity, there were all gas lamps in those days, so she used to have to walk. But before she went, she always had this big porringer going all night, so that when we got up, my brother and I, because he was 14, and he'd go to work, and I would go to school, but we always had a huge breakfast before we went, you see, that was all catered for. And Mother would get back about 8:30, 8:45, sometimes a little bit later from the school. And then she would sort of have a cup of tea and then go on to this woman's house that was in Elliot Vale. It was the sort of in Love Lane, as we called it then. And she would work there all the morning for the old 2 and 6pence. And the woman wanted someone to come on Sunday morning, and that was the only time Mother had off, really, because she was working all the time, backwards and forwards to school as well in the evening. So unless she could find somebody, then she was going to offer the job to somebody else, you see. So Mother asked my brother if he would go, because he was 14. So he went 2 or 3 times. And then, being a boy of 14, didn't want to know about it, you know. So then I was still sort of about 10 and a half, I suppose. So I went. And the woman used to do her cooking. And I think she used everything that was in the kitchen, all the utensils, everything in the kitchen, piled them all up on this table. And I used to have to wash them. In those days, you had none of the things that you've got today, you know, fairy liquids and things. You just had a piece of soap in a wire basket, which you just swished in the water, or you could put some soda in. So, of course, it used to take me ages to do all that, ages and ages to keep washing all these things up. When I'd washed those up and dried them, I would put them on the kitchen table so that she could put them away. Then I used to have to clean the oven. Right inside, everything was all cleaned, the oven. And then wash the kitchen floor. And she would come out and inspect what I'd done. For which sum I used to give them 6pence to give to my mother. And that's all when I was there. I used to go to Sunday school, and straight from Sunday school, which closed about 2:30 or 3, I used to walk from the village through to the Love Lane, and then walk back again. It used to take me a long, long time to do it. So every time I see washing up, I go.
Let's just look inside the box, Doris, and tell us
yeah.
what. She's not just the washing up Dora's put in there, is it? It's all
No.
sorts of things. What else do you see when you look in the box there?
Well, I look at all the little gadgets. I went to classes and made all these buttons.
Oh, you made those, did you? Yes.
I made all these little buttons. And there's another little button that.
That was in later life, I suppose, wasn't it?
Yes,
That was
when I was older, we just went and did all these things, the old coins. But
And the streets in the background, isn't it? The actual picture of Collins Street
yes,
itself.
It's absolutely lovely, isn't it?
What did you make of those little figures? Just
Beautiful.
here. What do you
Absolutely
think those
beautiful.
represented? Did you talk about that with Dora?
That's my brother there,
Mm-hmm.
which is the one up there.
Oh yes,
That was 1911, I think. He was born in 1911.
the one in the pram there.
Yes.
Yes.
And well, that's my brother and myself. We at school, mother and my brother and myself.
Yes.
And I love the way she's done Doris Bliss up there, isn't that
It's
wonderful?
great. Yes.
But I don't recognise these little figures here.
I think they must be taken from
They are taken from Collins Street.
Collins
I
Street
can't
and
recognise
other
them.
other people in the images she found connected with the exhibition, I
Yes.
suppose.
Yes, I think he's done wonderfully.
And the night sky is there. I mean, I wondered
Yeah.
why she'd done a night sky on the front here, on the front of the...
I
Was
don't
that to do
know.
with... You did some newspaper delivery or something in
Oh,
the dark,
yes,
didn't you? What was that?
yes.
Or was that early morning or late at
No,
night?
late at night. My brother used to have a big paper round. This
Yeah.
was a Saturday night or Sunday mornings we used to do. And he had a huge paper round. And we sort of shared it.
Yes.
It was Blackheath Park and Pond Road.
Yeah.
And I used to walk up there with the papers and just put them in. 9 times out of 10 I'd throw them, you know. And because as it got dark, I was very frightened, you know,
Yes.
very frightened of her.
So she must have noticed you saying that and made it a night sky. And the little
Yeah.
doll in the middle of the box is I think meant to be sort of you overpowered by the
Yes,
washing up,
there's
isn't
a
it?
scrubbing brush, you know, scrubbing everything.
Yes. How did you feel about the process of talking to Dora about making the box and then having the finished product to
Yes,
see?
it was lovely. It was lovely, yes. Took me right back to all my childhood things,
Yes.
you know. Things I look back on and think, well, why did I have to do that, you know?
Yes.
Various relations doing this, and I went up to an aunt once and lived in Wood Green, and that was just after my father died, and I stayed up there for a fortnight working for her.
Yeah.
And I think she gave my mother, said, oh, if I can always remember the words, if she's a good girl, Ada, I'll give you £1. Yes, I thought that. So that was my life, really,
Yes.
working. I had a really hard time. Yeah.
Just on the question of the box, were you quite surprised by what Dora did?
I
Or-
did. I think it's
Or
absolutely
did you discuss it with her, or did she?
Yes,
yes.
yes.
I know that she was excited about this sort of overwhelming image she had of you and all this overcome by this sort
I
of
know.
avalanche of washing up.
Well, that
And
was
she
my
wanted.
life. That was my
I
life.
think she sort of came and talked to you and said, "Is that?" She consulted you if that was going to be okay before she went
Oh,
ahead
yes,
with it.
she
I think.
did, and
Yeah.
it was absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
Love.
She says in her notes about it that the sky is
Yeah.
blue because you always gave her the impression that it was a sunny place.
Well, I suppose children think everything's sunny, don't they? They look on the black side. But I mean, I've got a phobia, haven't I, Olive, about washing up?
I hope you've got a washing up machine.
If
now.
she's in my house
No.
and I say leave that, no, we do it.
Okay.
You know, I don't go to bed at night. I haven't you know, no cuts, nothing's on left.
Oh, you'd be a woman after my mother's own heart. That's so she has the same. That's great. Would you two like to say anything about Doris's box? I mean, what does it make you think looking at it?
I think it's typical of me knowing a lot about Doris. I would say it's typical of her life, going not just all through with always going to somebody's house, and even recently going to my sister's house because she wasn't ill, and immediately going straight, as she's walked in, not to the Hoover, straight to the sink, straight washing up. And that's today at her age. So yes, it's absolutely, character is shown there.
All right. What about you, Bernard? Any comment?
Well, one thing I noticed there is the house where my grandmother used
Oh,
to
along
live,
here, yes.
back further.
Would you want to come over
Yeah.
and show us?
Yeah, Raffles, isn't it?
Yep.
Along there somewhere.
It would be this one here.
Oh, yes.
That was number 5, Collins Street.
Was it?
And next door was the house where the Greenfields first lived.
That was Merle's house.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Greenfields next door.
Mm.
Where she had a sewing machine in her window.
Oh, yes. Yes, so that's the photograph in black and white is quite effective, isn't it?
Yes, isn't it?
My aunt lives there. My aunt lives there. We lived down there. So Grandma was up in this big room here. I used to go along and up there and do all her dusting. When in my later years, I thought, 60. My God, she was 60. Why the hell didn't she do her own shop?
Great. So Bernard, perhaps you could say something about what the box represents and what it was like for you working on it with Dora, telling Dora your story and so on.
Do you want me to? I have to turn my head.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We can do a bit to me and a bit with reference to the box.
Because the photographs at the top depict the early days of my life. The one up there, in the top left-hand corner, that was Pat Greenfield, who used to live at number 4 Collins Street, if you remember. There she was dressed in a nurse's uniform, holding me on the steps of number 6. Then in the middle, that's a photograph of the school play at the infant school, All Saints
Yes.
Infant School in the Passage in Blackheath Village. And the one on the top right hand corner is a photograph of the street party. I think that was possibly Jubilee Party of 1935 or the Coronation Party of 1937. Yeah?
Yes, it says
Then
it's the
that's
Jubilee Party.
a photograph of the little rascal you used to know. I think that was taken in 1936, wasn't it?
Silver Jubilee.
Yeah, 35, yeah. I was about 5 then.
I know. Terror. Absolute terror.
Not like that now.
Wouldn't say so.
Then growing up, that was after the Jersey episode. The photograph there was me when I was about 18 on holiday in Jersey. We used to wear lounge suits to go on holiday, in those days.
So you went back to Jersey for
Yes,
a
that was
holiday,
about-
even after the
Yes,
experience.
that was 3 years later.
Right, right. And the biggest part of the lid of your box is the map of Jersey, and where presumably the red thing is where you were.
That's right, Gorey.
But let's now go inside the box and say, well, what do we see there, and what does that remind you of?
Well, at the back here, we have copies of Red Cross messages that we used to receive. These messages used to come through the Red Cross in Switzerland, and they used to take about 3 months. The message itself was restricted by about, I think it was 25 words, something like that. And of course it used to take the same amount of time for a reply to be sent back. That's me again. That's a pre-war photograph. And this is a letter at the back here. These 2 pages of school teacher of All Saints School, Miss Gay, I think it was. Yes. Regarding school teacher writing about me through the Red Cross. Then we have this horrible thing here, which is the barbed wire depicting the imprisonment, really, of the occupation of the Channel Islands, Jersey in particular. It's all very nicely done. And here, don't know whether you can see that. That's one of the souvenirs I brought back from Jersey, which is a German army belt, which was on exhibition at the Imperial War Museum to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the liberation of Jersey. And various photographs of this photograph here is of the liberation troops, the British troops who liberated the island. This, of course, is not the case, but a similar case that I had with my bits and pieces when I went to Jersey.
You
Now-
thought it was a very temporary visit, didn't you, Bernard? You didn't think you'd need much stuff.
That's right.
I've always wondered, Bernie, why, was it your uncle, wasn't it, you went to stay with?
Yes, my uncle.
Why did he come home and leave you out there?
Well, what happened was, my uncle and aunt decided that it wasn't a good idea to have me after all.
Yeah,
So my uncle, came back to London to see my mother to make arrangements or discuss the possibility of bringing me back. And of course he left Jersey on the last boat,
he should
and
have
he
thought-
was
yeah.
he was trapped. He was stranded here, and I was trapped in Jersey.
But he didn't bring you with him, did he?
Well, that's it. Really, it was nonsense. So he was conscripted into the army, the Royal Artillery,
Yeah.
and his wife had a child, another child, not a blood relation, who she didn't want because she had a boy of her own. See?
Oh. So what did she do with you? Did you go into a home or something?
Well, yes, I stayed with her but things didn't work out, and
Terrible shame.
I went into an orphanage
Yeah,
in 1941.
Mm.
Yes, that's right. I was 11, 1941, and stayed there until the end of the occupation.
And in the play that we made about your stories, the actor took your exact words, didn't he, and spoke them as a narration, the whole journey to and from, and the experience of being an evacuee.
Yes.
I wondered what that was like for you, hearing Neil Gore, it was, saying your lines.
It sounded obviously very familiar.
Yeah.
Did it feel
I've had-
sad?
Well, yes, of course it did. I mean, I've had many sort of similar experiences in other ways that obviously brought back the memories of it.
Mm.
But,
I remember at the time that people in the street were absolutely dismayed that your uncle had never brought you home when he came.
well, that was unfortunate because, I mean, he didn't know that was the last boat. See, they were
That wasn't what
the
they were
evacuation
saying.
of the islands were quite voluntary.
Yeah.
People weren't forced to leave the island. You know, they could decide themselves whether they wanted to leave the island or not. And the British government supplied the ships, the boats, to bring people
Yeah.
back. They could leave if they wished, and obviously
You
it
don't
was
think anything like
it was a
that
bit of
happening?
a panic stations, really.
Must
So
have been.
they didn't know he didn't know that was the last boat to leave the islands. It was attacked, I think, on the way over. It was machine gunned when it stopped at Guernsey to pick up some more people. Yeah.
Mm.
There we are.
Yes, I think that's fine, Bernard. I don't know where the news clipping came from. I mean, one thing I didn't mention is that each box has got a story attached to it, which is taken from your own words. and something about the artist. But did you supply the interesting information about Jersey and the evacuation?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, I did.
Mm. And do you ever dream about all that?
Now and again,
Mm.
I have more dreams about living in Collins Street again, oddly enough.
Really? What kind of things happen in your dreams?
I,
Everything.
I believe that, I dream that I'm back in Collins Street, speaking to my mother, downstairs in the living room, and it all seems so real,
I think
Is
Collins
there-
Street has a very unusual effect on people
I think so.
and children. Because at the time we were all so happy there. I mean, there was no doubt about it. I would say Collins Street was a children's dream. I know it sounds funny, but you had the whole street, was no traffic,
That's right.
and we had that beautiful sunshine. Didn't matter about not having a garden. We was all out there and we was all together.
That's right.
It was,
Children's playground,
yeah,
in spite of all the coal smoke from the railway
yeah, and the
engines
bits and the washing and the...
and the rumbling and the shunting of trucks.
I think that you got used to it.
Yeah, you did.
And Blackie Station was so beautiful.
Yeah. But bearing in mind that they used to shunt trucks from almost outside here all the way down to Love Lane, didn't they, if you remember? Because that was the goods yard, wasn't it?
Just to say something about the process of remembering, I mean, you obviously had several goes at it in a way, Bernard, didn't you? Because we recorded you, and then you came to the group discussions,
Right.
and then you came and sat in a bit on rehearsals and saw the show, and then you had the experience of working on the box, and you also worked with the children. So out of all those ways of exploring memories with people who you grew up with and with a young artist and with children, were they all effective in different ways, and what pleased you the most of all those, do you think?
Well, I think the main thing about that experience was how lucky the future generations are today. How, how better off children are in many ways.
I wouldn't say that.
No, no.
Well, in material things they certainly are, aren't they? And probably,
Does that make them any happier?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
Never mind the general. What about
No.
the particular? What about you? And I was asking you about different kinds of remembering that you did on the project. So many different kinds of remembering, sort of sitting with people who you actually grew up with, and then talking to
Well,
children.
The difference is there's an age difference between
Oh, yes.
between us. You see,
Yes.
I didn't actually grow up with
I didn't mind,
Doris
no.
and Olive.
No.
They were people who lived in the street. We
Yeah.
knew them. We used to say hello and all that sort of thing. But I didn't grow up with them. Those two did.
Yes.
They-
I remember walking by thinking, oh my God, he's up to something. That's about all.
I used to say,
Yeah.
oh no, not you again.
Yeah, that's about all. It was only in the distance and he'd just go, oh my God.
Oh, poor
That's it.
Bernard. What about the kids? They obviously love a story about a naughty boy. How did you like working with the children on the project?
Very much. Very much.
I liked
Yes, I thought-
down the school.
I thought
Yeah.
I loved it.
I don't know. I don't really realise what my input was to them, because
Oh, I
They-
should think you've passed
they,
quite a lot of it on to
they
them,
seem to be
don't
very
you, Bert?
appreciative. And all, when I saw Bernard, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I
Perhaps they
Okay.
recognised the silly fool. I don't know.
Not at all. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. And
With Collins Street and when I was young.
I think start by talking to me about what you see when you look in the box, Olive.
Right. To look in the box brings back really wonderful memories to me for that period of my life. It was my Bill's ambition to open a greengrocer's, and the times we went to places and tried, and it wasn't right, he'd say, and in the end I used to think, oh, he doesn't want to do it. It's his way of saying, that's not right. End of Weemus Road, where Leslie's was, no, that's not right, he would say. And so, and all the time we were saving really, really hard, which was very difficult. And then, of course, one day we did it. I had never worked in a greengrocer's, and I had to, which that period of our lives, with Blackie's people, and it was wonderful. But all the time we lived in Collins Street. Now I was born in 19 and went in the war in probably 1940, about 41. I moved into 18.
You're talking about you were born in number 19 and you moved to number 18. What year were you born, Olive?
1920.
Yes, yeah.
And so Collins Street has always been in the background. Although we had the shop and our money, what we had saved, which was difficult, had gone in the shop and not in the home. We still paid rent. I think it was my sister paid 7 shillings upstairs and I paid 7 shillings downstairs. And she worked in an estate agent and suddenly got the chance to move, which it was heaven. So Collins Street is always there for me, and even now, if it's the right weather, I have to, if I'm coming home, I have to go down Collins Street and round. And as I'm going round, I'm thinking, Mrs. Greenfield, who made my clothes, Mrs. Sparks, and that's how your mind goes. And they were good memories, different entirely to Doris's, because my mother wouldn't let you lift a duster. You did it wrong. Her way was right.
Yeah.
So our lives are completely different. And where all the children could play till, say, 9 o'clock on a summer's night or 8, I was brought in to go to bed, in bed, forgotten by 7, and that was it. But the one thing about Collins Street is wonderful, going back, always harping to Collins Street, is they had a row of trains that they had shunted, the carriages. And of an evening, quite early, we'd sit on the top. We'd climb the fence and sit on the top of all these carriages. And nobody seemed to mind. And the stray cats and kittens that we found and brought home was unbelievable. So Collins Street and the shop was really a lot of my life. And really, I've got to say, obviously there must have been hardship for my mum or my dad, but as children, it never seemed to affect us because we'd go out with other children. There was always that. Well, as I go down now, it's a lovely feeling. Collins Street is special. It's got a magic. And my daughter, who was born down there, says, if only I could get back there, Mum, to live. So, yes, I really think it's wonderful. And also, then the episode of my Bill and this shop, his whole life and his love was not just the shop, it was his customers, and the happiness we had was unbelievable. And of course, I suppose there was hardship and upset, but I don't know, the niceness of life overrode all that for me. You know, I mean, we did have lots of, oh God, you know, never coming out, which I don't think people would do it today, never coming out till 7. And it was a stone floor and shutters. So if it snowed, it would go in that part of the shop.
Oh, so where you were working?
Yes, where I was working at. And I worked with Bill. I found I had to. He couldn't cope to well, I suppose if I'd said I wouldn't, but if you love somebody, you do it.
Yes, and it was a lovely story about him bringing fruit to you every day from the shop when you were a young girl going to your hairdressing job.
Yeah, I would stand at the bus stop, and he used to, apparently he'd seen me, and he spoke to Ida, Ida. He spoke to Ida Hunstead and said, who's the girl? And she said, oh, she lives in our street. So, you won't believe it, I went to meet him. So I did the running at that time. And from then onwards, he would have this little bag of, I think, to be truthful, I think it was a strawberry out of somebody's box and something out of somebody else's box. And I had a little bag that was given to me, run across the road. And yeah, from when I was, I met him when I was about 14. I'd gone out to work about 5 days after I was 14. And I should think about 2 months after that, we knew each other. And that was our lifetime. And it's been, you know, it sounds ever so how unreal, but it wasn't. It was perfect. Hard work, but you know, I mean, I daren't say to him, I really would like something built in the garden, because if I went shopping, I'd come back and he'd done it, you know, and I'd say, well, I wasn't quite sure, Bill. Oh, he says, I don't matter. He said, I'll always take it down.
Oh, what
You
a
know.
wonderful guy.
Yeah.
And what about the process of thinking through all those years, both for the play and in the group and with the children and so on? Which was a very exciting for you there?
The exciting for me was to go down to the school, and Bernard, I think, was with me that day, and the children, they were doing a play, and everything about it seemed, whether we were so near the street and actually on the very spot where we would go and get the apples for Namblies.
That's where their school's built, isn't
That's
it?
where the
Yes.
school is built.
Yeah.
Whether it was because I was there, I just loved it. I really, when they said, well, this is the end, I really could have gone on.
Yeah.
I was so happy with the environment.
Yeah.
When I went back again and we were talking, and we were talking about the steam trains, and I was trying to explain how they puffed out the dirt, and I wish somehow I'd had a picture, because I looked at their little faces, and it's me telling them something that they probably they couldn't visualise. So I felt as though if I'd had something that I could say, look, that's a steam train, and that dirt came out,
Yes.
and that was the only thing I felt I let them down a little bit.
Well, actually, Hannah's put the steam in the box, hasn't
Yes.
she? And I mean, what was it?
And I mean the dirt, I can know my mother, who was very particular, getting a washing, putting it all on the line, and maybe an hour later a train would be, because they varied in position. I think where they watered, you know, this big thing comes down and the water goes in, it was more or less outside our house, because really the railway was a big thing to Collins Street, because as a children you could go to the top windows and see everything that was happening, and they kept the station with everything hanging with plants, always being washed, ever so, because I suppose there wasn't the amount of people in the village and everything. So that little station was absolutely a little dream. So to look out onto it, it was a pleasure, you know. But
And-
it did get the mother's washing. I remember my mother going out and looking at it and saying, I can't do nothing with it, it's got to go back in the wash.
Yeah.
It was that black soot.
What about the play and the experience of seeing the actors perform the play? Well, what was that like for you, Olive?
Oh, I love it. See, I can't help but saying it. I must be a bore at sometimes, but anything that connects Collins Street, and I go down to June in Age Exchange, and we start, something crops up. We don't intend to talk about it, and then we're off. And I say, I can't remember that. So my first thing is, Doris, get back on the phone to her. Doris, I can't remember. And it was jewellers the other day, about a week ago. We couldn't remember how many jewellers there was in the village. So, yeah, I just
So
love...
that's very important, having somebody who shares some memories with you to be able to talk about it together.
Yes, Doris and I go, well, I would say I ring Doris every day. And if I haven't rang, then I get a phone call back,
How
you know.
wonderful.
Oh, twice a day sometimes. And always it's... and also, I'm going to say this, which I shouldn't be doing it, I often phone up and say, because in Collins Street, she was that little bit old, 5 years older than me. And do you know what she used to do? She used to have me in, and I was really a clean little girl, and I'd be sat on her kitchen table in her house, and I'd be washed. I don't know why I'd be washed.
She thought it was fun, I suppose.
She just thought that she ought to wash everybody.
If she sort of was grubby or something, my mother would go mad. So I used to wash her.
Great. Well, I just want to...
Yeah. Was it in the 70s, was it?
I don't know, but they did that when they changed over. They used our shop. It was quite chaotic Because everybody would look at, say, cauliflowers and they'd put a 10p ticket on it. People would come and say, that's cheap today, Bill. It wasn't, because it was 2 shillings.
Right.
Oh, I think they're lovely. This is you, is it? Yeah, that's you.
Oh, that's a photograph of the box, yeah. That's
Nice.
that one. It's cool.
Isn't that lovely?
Very good.
Look at that. Oh, they are nice.
And the stories are nice too. People who you know couldn't talk to you could then read the stories that we wrote. I think that was quite important.
I think that
too.
was very important because there was one particular one I read, and I'd met the gentleman, and when I read his story, it all seemed to fit in. It was fantastic. Yeah.
It was quite exciting too that at the end we had the ore boxes joined in with all the others from the other countries, didn't we? And
Yes.
did some of you have the opportunity to look at the other boxes and see what other people had done in other countries?
Yes.
Yes, I was trying to think out one particular one. No,
Oh, yes,
there
a lot
was,
of.
there was kitties with a shoe in it. I know that.
Oh
with the
yes,
dancing.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of very interesting boxes, weren't
Yeah.
there? From
Oh,
different
yes,
parts
they
of
were.
the world,
Yes.
Yes.
including, I think, Finland was.
Yes,
one of
yes,
them.
There's a lot of smoke coming out that train.
And all the little black smuts
It was
that's settling on the washing.
Yeah.
Just put
And the
your
rumble.
hand in the box there, Bernard, would you, and just touch the barbed wire and the jumpers a bit. So I've got that. I think that might be quite nice
Lovely.
without sound. That's it.
Really nice memories.
And Olive, you can have a look at yours, handle the fruit, or
Yeah.
have a look at the
Oh,
picture of
okay.
Bill is
Yeah,
nice,
He
isn't
was,
it?
a, he was a local
That's
MP,
the
but
most
I can't
important thing.
remember.
What's his name?
Do a bit of research. That was
Yes, I can't remember his name.
round about 1935 or 36 anyway.
Doris, can you just handle some of the saucepans? Let's just have your hand in there.
And don't wash up.
Don't wash up.
It was a celebration.
Wonderful, yes,
It
that's
was one of the
lovely.
street parties because they got the bunting. See the bunting there? Look.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we can stick them down again. Yours was the most difficult box because it was so ambitious, a nightmare to travel with it. You know.
14, and the
I wondered
shop
how
has
she got
just
it,
said
but
you couldn't have your
I don't
hand
think
like
it
that,
matters
they'll
too
bung
much,
it all
really.
up.
She bought all the little things.
The
Yes.
days when
Marvellous,
there was
absolutely wonderful.
skill in hairdressing.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
now. A
No.
lot of rubbish
No,
now.
all rolled up now.
They don't even have the hair. You know,
Absolutely
some of these
wonderful.
people that appear on television with the hair as if they've just got